Hello? If you can hear my voice, please clap your hands once. If you can hear my voice, clap your hands twice. Thank you. Very good. Now I want you to think, on your partner's story, what captured your attention? Does anybody want to share something that captured their attention during listening to their partner's story? Keith?
I need a microphone.
Sure.
So my new friend is BJ. We've never met before. And so BJ was telling me a story that started out at her church. So you have this assumption in church, accepting people, they accept everybody, love everybody like God says. And then she overheard a conversation. And one of her church members said, well, I like my new neighbors. I wish they weren't Jewish. I'm like, whoa. I listened to the rest of the story, so that and then went on from there.
Thank you, Keith. Does anybody else want to share? Yes.
I've become a word guy, and so when Dave said the word rekindle, something about a past stepping into something good, it just like, that really resonated with me. There's so many things we enjoy in the past that it takes a new experience to step into out of our comfort zone to rekindle that which you found pleasure in before.
Thank you. Now, what moved you? In the story, think about what moved you. Does anybody want to mention what moved them? That's okay. Nobody wants. What did you relate to? What did you say? Oh, something similar happened to me, or had that similar feeling, or something similar. Was there anything similar? Great, Michael.
Lynette had shared her story of the mom card where she wanted to prevent her son from getting himself hurt, but then forcing herself to step back to allow him to do what he wanted to do for a positive outcome.
Yes, I remember those days well. I have a son, and I used to kind of watch him as he went off to school, just to make sure he got to the bus stop.
My name's Dave, and this is my friend Jamie here I just met, and she has always had a struggle with blindness, and I too am losing my eyesight, and so I shared with her that we have a bit of a similarity there, and how much of an encouragement she and others like her are to me because of their ability to tackle things and take on the world and just go about. So that's a similarity and an encouragement to me.
Thank you, Dave. Was there anything in their story that distracted or confused you? Anything you couldn't follow? Because sometimes in stories I've had people say something and I'm going, what? Okay, so nobody had that reaction. Good. You're good storytellers then. So, did it elicit emotion? This is Michael Hay. He worked with Will Smith on Hitched and some of his other movies. He's out of Hollywood. His says the primary goal of a story is to elicit emotion. No emotion, no story. And then this is Connie Podesta. And she asks this question. She's a Hall of Fame speaker. Will your story pass the pina colada test? Now, will people want to come and listen to your story, or do they want to wander off to the pool and enjoy that pina colada? So your story has to be better than the pina colada. And especially at happy hour. That's the big one. You want to be able to capture their attention even when they're going, I want to just have fun. So what is a signature story? Does anybody have an idea? What is a signature story? Yes. We'll come to both of you.
Okay. This is a guess, but I think a signature story is something that's unique to you, that you speak with passion because it's true from your heart.
Very nice. Thank you.
Agree with that. It was a podcast that I first heard that was associated with Toastmasters was what's the message that's going to resonate no matter where you go, what you say. It's that moment in your life that you can share that put that into your being.
Are there any other ideas about a signature story? Yes.
The story that has staying power,
Yes.
that carries for a long, long time, like District 6 and 106 is Power of a Hug. That everyone knows what that is and where that came from and why and how it is. I call that a signature story.
So a signature story, especially for speakers, is a story that you're known for. Has anybody seen Tim Berg? He has the fat, sweaty guy. He's made millions on the same speech for over 20 years. Or he's running through the airport, he's getting all sweaty, and then he's sitting in this airplane seat between two other people. Also another one, this is Jean Robertson. I'm just going to play a little bit of her story because I like it. She's also been known for this story for many years.
You get a lot more credit if you make it yourself. You can put it on your grandmother's platter, but the women in the kitchen will say, I know where she got that chicken. I'm telling you, it works out that way. And I make only one thing, and that is small little 7-Up pound cakes. I make them by the dozen. I'm out of town, something happens, left brain takes it over. And not long ago, got up one morning and heard that a friend of ours was sick and went to my freezer and my pound cakes were depleted. I did not realize I was out. He said, I've been taking them to a lot of people been sick. I said, well, I didn't know they were gone. I got to get a pound cake made before I leave town. Honey, go to the grocery store and get my ingredients. He said, I'm trying to get to badminton. I said, well, there's just a few ingredients. He said, I tell you what, I can get there and get it and still get to badminton, but you make sure I can go through that express lane. No problem. We don't go to the grocery store together anymore because I frankly don't care what things cost by the half ounce. So I made up the list and he left. Well, y'all, I waited. He didn't come back. I thought he's gone on to badminton. And I thought, now where could he be? I was getting ready to call the grocery store and I heard the car pull in. He came huffing up the steps, had 2 sacks and more sacks hanging on his arms. He just glared at me, started putting stuff down, and said, I'll get some more out of the car. I looked in the first sack, there was a pound of margarine and 2 gigantic bottles of vanilla flavor. Doling out a half teaspoon at a time, it would take forever to get rid of these 2 gigantic bottles of vanilla flavor. And in the next sack were 3 dozen eggs. I said, they had a special. I'll tell you, they have had a special. I didn't need but 5 eggs, and I just said a dozen. In the next sack was a big old thing of shortening, 2 of them. And in the next sack, 2 more, 12 pounds of lard. We could fry fish for everybody in here, but in that 4th sack, I found my list. And I'd like to step out of the kitchen just a minute to tell you something. Left Brain is a smart man. He went to Duke University on a basketball scholarship, played basketball for 4 years, and graduated in the same 4 years. Then he went to Carolina and got a master's degree and a doctorate. He has over-degreed himself. But I don't care how many pieces of paper you frame and put on the wall, if you have a left brain, it's going to kick in on you. And it kicked in on him about the 3rd aisle of that grocery store.
So did you feel any emotional connection to Jeannie and her problem? Do you have a husband? my husband, he's an engineer, and I'll say something like, oh, it's almost 12, and he's going, no, it's 3 minutes to 12, and I'm going, yeah, it's 12. So did you feel the emotional connection? Because that's one thing you need in a signature story. Another one is motivation and inspiration, because many times a signature story will establish your brand and your business. People want to know who you are, why you're unique, what you have to offer. So that's also in there. Now, would you trust Jeannie if you met her on the street? I would. I just think she's a funny lady. She always talks about left brain. Anytime she talks about left brain, that's the husband. She talks beaver, that's the son. So she's well established in that. And then tomorrow, or next week, would you remember this story? Of the husband going to the grocery store and not getting through the express lane? And then this also identifies her brand. This is the type of speaker she is. She's a humorous speaker. She tells stories about her family. And that's how she sets her up in herself up in her market. So it works very well for her. So what I'm trying to get you to think about today is, what is your signature story? What is that story that people ask you to say over and over again? They just love hearing it. Because that should be one of your signature stories. You can have more than one. But it establishes yourself. And you can take it out for years, like Jeannie did, like Tim Gard in the airplane. And that's how the professional speakers earn a good chunk of their money, is because people know these speeches and they like to hear them over and over again. So thank you for coming. And I made it at the yellow